Hello there, kia ora. Over the last couple of days, there's been lots of rumours flying around about the future of media here in Aotearoa. Started initially because Newshub turned around and said, hey, we're having a meeting on Tuesday to talk about the future of media in Aotearoa that all team members had to go to. And a couple of weeks ago, we know our Prime Minister had a meeting with executives from News Corp, the Rupert Murdoch-owned corporation / worldwide media conglomerate. So people were putting two and two together and were really concerned that we were going to see Rupert Murdoch take a bigger step into the local media landscape. And that had a lot of people scared. Yesterday, though, it was announced that Stuff and Newshub were going to be joining forces, and we averted a Murdochapocalypse for now. Because you see, once Rupert Murdoch finds his footing somewhere, he doesn't like to let go anytime soon. So there's probably still some developments coming. And we need to be kind of concerned. And while I get that there will be people out there who aren't particularly happy with Stuff's involvement with Newshub because of headlines like Nicola Willis is the Mary Poppins of finance, it's still far more preferable to have some locally sourced news outlets as opposed to internationally sourced news outlets like we would see under a News Corp banner. You see, the way that News Corp works is really kind of fascinating. They have one of the largest media holdings anywhere in the world. They own something like 65% of all Australian media. They own things like The Sun and The Times and the Press Association in the United Kingdom. They own things like the Wall Street Journal, the New York Post, and Fox News in the United States. And one of these things that you'll notice with almost all of their content that they own and all of the outlets that they own is that they are far from impartial. They do generally all have a right lean to them, some a lot further than others. And the way that Murdoch has designed his content and his empire is really specific. He said so himself in a number of interviews that one of the things he really wanted to do was build news for niches. And so that's what they would build on, that's what they'd focus on, and that's what they would grow. It's one of the reasons why the tabloids in the United Kingdom are so strong, because they work on really specific niches. And he found that in Australia that worked really well for him as well as America. So what you would find with him entering the market here more so than he does, because Sky News is one of their products that they have, well, you would be seeing a very big shift in the way that our media has to operate. And it's actually part of the game plan for how News Corp organizations actually work. See, what they tend to do is they introduce themselves into a market and then actually call advertisers for their competitors and offer cheaper rates to starve them of resources, but also have that kind of consistency that the audience is expecting to see in their content. By starving them with resources and then throwing accusations like, oh, you're slightly left-leaning, so you're clearly a communist, well, that means that those media outlets have to find ways to redefine themselves and get back and counter those particular claims, which means that you're already setting the tone for what our news is going to be doing while creating a wedge in between different ideologies. And that's how he works everywhere in the world. He's gotten behind some really big names as well and had a lot of influence. For example, in Australia, Malcolm Turnbull, the former Prime Minister, squarely blames Rupert Murdoch for him being kicked out of that job. At the same time, he got behind Margaret Thatcher, he got behind Tony Blair, and most famously, he got Fox News behind Donald Trump, even though he apparently dislikes the man completely, because he knew it would get his audience riled up. Because his main driver for content is making people feel something, because to him that leads to profit. And while there have been a lot of scandals and some terrible behavior from News Corp organizations like hacking a dead child's phone or sexual abuse allegations within companies, the fact that this person has such an influence and this organization has such an influence over how media is produced in large chunks of the world understandably has people really scared. And particularly when he uses one tool in particular that shows up across his tabloids, his mainstream media outlets, and his niche marketing outlets: scapegoating. It's a really big thing for his media outlets, and it's actually something that's had a lot of influence on alternative media providers all over the world, where you blame somebody specifically so that you can have them targeted, so everything can be blamed on them, and it gets people worked up and angry, and anger sells. You'll see it all the time with Fox News, for example, where they'll blame immigrants, or they'll blame Biden for something that Donald Trump did, or they'll blame Muslims, or they'll blame the rainbow community. We see a lot of alt-right commentators in this country using those same kind of tools. Those were tools that were honed by News Corp. And so by not having him in this country directly, we still see that influence, but we don't see the impact anywhere near as much as you would see in somewhere like the United States, the United Kingdom, or Australia. But there is no reason why he wouldn't come here. Other than the fact that we're such a small market, he probably wouldn't turn much of a profit. But it sounds like perhaps there are conversations already happening between News Corp and the government in terms of the future of their entry here. As I said, they've already got a toehold here with Sky News, and there is actually nothing that stops him from setting up here. There were rumours a while ago that apparently he was banned, but those are absolutely fake. The fact of the matter is, while we might not necessarily agree with the bias that will be presented on Newshub and with Stuff, it's still going to be far less of a bias and far less partisan than we would if we had something like News Corp in this country, taking over one of the largest news broadcasts that we have. We should be counting our blessings that for now we've definitely dodged that Murdochapocalypse.